Hey guys, it's time for me to change tubes in my amp. I thought I'd do a video to have a decent discussion about changing tubes. I know a lot of you guitar tone freaks out there are really into tubes and want the best sound that you're looking for. And these are some of my old tubes here, and then I have a new set of tubes. And the current amp that I'm using right now is a Mesa Boogie Mark III Red Stripe Simulclass 6100. There's tubes in this amp as well, and they're about to come out. They're sounding brittle. I don't have the extra gain that I used to have, and I think the tubes are still okay because I still get sound and everything, but I don't like using a tube where my sound is diminishing. Some people actually like that kind of sound, but not for me. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of go over the tubes that I used to have in the amp, and then the tubes that are currently in the amp, and then I'll talk about the tubes that I will be putting in, and maybe you guys might have some recommendations. I have two spare ones for the V1 socket and the preamp tubes over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to make sure these three are in the right positions. I have to call the guy who I bought it from, Doug's Tubes, to make sure that I have these in the right order. Some of you might have tried Tungsol, Mullard. This is the CV4004, and this is the AC7HG Plus. These are all meant to be for the V1 position for those people who are interested in getting high gain sounds. Okay, so let me go through the video. The tubes here. I bought these a while back from the tube store. I've been using Mesa Boogie tubes for a long time, but I said, let me change them around. I didn't know that you were allowed to use other tube manufacturers. I was under the impression that you can only use Mesa tubes, and that all the other tubes that I could use were not gonna be, it's not gonna work on my amp. But after going through all the internet forums and stuff, people are trying different sets of tubes and stuff like that. So I came across the tube store first, and later on I found out about Eurotubes and Doug's Tubes. So I went with Doug's Tubes in the past 2 times. And the tubes that I have here, I just went, just talking to the guys from tubestore.com. Svetlana 34, EL34 is on the outside, and there's no label here, but it's written on the glass. I don't know if you can see it. Let me try to find it for you. There it is. Svetlana EL34, right? Made in Russia. So I went with a lot of Russian tubes, like all Russian tubes this time. Back then, okay. Let me get the sheet. I'm gonna print out a sheet from Mesa Boogie and a couple things that they noted here in my user manual. So let me get that and go over those things here. Hold on. Alright, so I printed it out and I'm gonna read this to you. It says, thank you for playing the Mark III. Unless you had a trouble tube failure, it can be hard to know precisely when you need new tubes. The following may provide guideline to assist you. Tube lifespan. And this is a pretty good guideline to have. If you play about 10 to 15 hours a week, which I don't, mine's more like 1 to 3 hours a week, power tubes will generally last 1 to 1.5 years. And for me, the last time I bought tubes was middle of 2013, and it's almost the end of 2015, so it's past 2 years, right? So power tubes will generally last 1 to 5 years, 1 to 1.5. Preamp tubes will generally last 2 to 3 years, and then rectifier tubes will generally last 3 to 5 years. Okay, And then he goes on to talk about, this is an email from Trent at Mesa Boogie, just reading this out to you. Signs of wear, power tubes, low end response is not as clear and distorts earlier. You turn your amp's master volume up to hear the level that you're used to hearing. So that means, you know, the volume of your amp isn't there as much as it used to be. Eventually, you will hear crackling, popping sounds, often accompanied by swelling volume levels and buzzing. Okay, I had the crackling, popping sounds with these guys maybe about 2013. I started to hear all these noises, so I figured, all right, these gotta go. So I don't know how much life is left on these, as well as these that I showed you before. What else does he say? Okay, so preamp tubes, hissing, shooshing, sputtering, grumbling, microphonic squealing, feedback type sound, loss in signal in one or more modes of the amp, channel, reverb, effects loop. And there is a video on Mesa Boogie's YouTube channel that shows you how to do tube replacement and troubleshooting and stuff like that. I will put this link in the video description down below so you guys can take a look at that as well. Alright, so that's the email from Trent at Mesa Boogie, and what we're gonna go over here is my diagram for my amp in terms of tubes, where the placements are for tubes. There's 5 sockets for the preamp and 4 sockets for the power tubes, and please refer to your user manual as to how your amp is laid out. The sequencing of even the preamps could be very different. So from what I know so far, looking at the user manual, V1 is the input where you plug in your guitar cable. V2, I am not sure. It could be the effects loop, not positive. But in the manual, it did say that V3 is designated for lead, the lead channel on my amp. And the V4 is for the reverb. And V5, I think, has something to do with phase inverter. I'm not exactly sure, but I can find out more info from Mesa Boogie. I'll email them and they'll probably get back to me. For those of you who own the Mark III, you know, maybe give you some heads up on how these tubes are laid out for you. Okay, so let me go to the power tubes. Now there's some verbiage here on the top saying that, you know, back in the day you were able to change EL34s with 6L6s or 5881s, but now they're saying that you should definitely stick with EL34s. So that is what I'm doing, and then the inner pair is 6L6. For those of you who don't know, if you have a simulclass Mesa Boogie amp, the outer tubes is 60. For my amp, it's 60 watts, and the inner tubes are not on. But if you do 100 watts, both the outer sockets and the inner sockets will go on to give you the full power. Okay, so let me pause the video for a second and show you the back of my amp. Okay, alright, so this is what the back of my amp looks like upside down. So I like to do tube changes with the amp upside down because it's easier access to get to the tubes. Alright, and I had this modded so that it is designed for EL34 tubes in the outer sockets. Okay, so I don't deal with 6L6 tubes anymore. I could still put them in there, but even Mesa Boogie recommended to keep it EL34s. And what I have in there currently, let me see if I can take a look close here. Yeah, that's the Ruby. Get in there closer. EL34 BSTR on the outer sockets. And on the inner sockets, let's see if I can get it. No, I may not be able to get it. And maybe I can. No, I can't get it to focus because then the label is all the way in the other side. But the inner sockets are 6L6. Let's see here. 6L6 GCM-MSTR. Those are the ones that I got from Doug's Tubes. And inside over here, that's the preamp. 5, 4, 3, 2, and that one over there, I don't know if you can see, is covered with that silver silver cylinder thingy. That is V1. Okay, so I'm going to change all of these with the new set of tubes, which is right here. However, you know, I don't know what you guys do, but do you change all your tubes, or do you change just the preamp tubes and then keep the power tubes, or you know, what do you do? I normally just change everything because I don't want any kind of like, well, how do you know which one is good and which one is not, right? Unless you get one of those valve tube life testers or something. But I guess what I'm going to do, which may ask for your opinion, let me show you. These are new tubes. I got these from the tube store and these from Doug Tubes. And as I mentioned before, this is V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. Now, I have the option to not use this, which I used last time. See those from last time from Doug's Tubes. I'm missing the Svetlana V5 position. I don't know where I put the box, but I can go with this one, or I can go with the Ruby or the Mullard. So which one should I go with first? Well, I guess since I used this before, I can start with Ruby or Mullard. Maybe I'll start with the Mullard. And what I'll probably do is, this video is getting long, so what I'll do is I'll do another video separate from this one. This is just like a discussion video, and record the current tubes the way they are. And to me it sounds pretty brittle, no lackluster gain, just not there, you know. So, and then after I switch the tubes to the new ones, I'll do another recording and see if you guys hear a difference. How's that? Alright, so if you have any kind of ideas, comments, suggestions, just leave them down below. Maybe some of you have Mark 3s or Mark 4s or any other amp, you know, that has valves in them. You know, you gotta change tubes every now and then. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Alright? Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you guys later.